Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the photography show that is somehow still going strong after 2 or 3 weeks. Probably won't last much longer. Today I'll be recanting a tale from my most recent trip to the Salt Flats. Because what better way is there to self-isolate than to drive 150 miles away from the city and stand in the middle of one of the world's largest, empty, and vast open spaces. I also had convinced my friend Eli to shoot film for the first time. He shot digital for about 4+ years, but he's never shot film before. And since I've been on this bender recently, I decided that I need to force all my friends into spending all their money on film as well. So we drove out west, hoping that the weather would get better as we continued to drive further away from Salt Lake. We finally got to the Salt Flats, and as per usual, it was windy as fuck, but it was pretty nice outside. Once we got to the Salt Flats, we realized that everyone and their grandma had the same idea to self-isolate at the Salt Flats. And it turns out that if everyone has the same idea to self-isolate in the same remote place, that it's no longer self-isolation and that it's no longer much of a remote place. So we drove past the rest stop that it seemed like a majority of the people had stopped to do whatever you do. We just pulled over off of the highway and I parked in the middle of the Salt Flats. So yeah, slap that guy close, and then turn her on with the this button right here. Just throw it into what's that, first mode. There you go. After a brief lesson on how to load and handle the Canon T70, I handed over my most prized hunk of plastic and let Eli roam the Salt Flats to shoot his first roll of film. I was shooting on Portra 400. It was a roll that I had already had loaded when we got there, so I just continued to shoot on it. And Eli was shooting on Kodak Pro Color. I had never shot on Pro Color before, so this was both of our first experiences for that film stock. Turns out that if you don't go out to the Salt Flats with props or something in mind to shoot, you can spend a lot of time staring at a lot of the same type of stuff. So I started just randomly grabbing props off of the side of the road, and at one point I looked over and noticed that Glen was doing exactly the same thing. Without saying anything to each other, both Glen and I grabbed props. He grabbed a bottle, and I grabbed this like shredded tire. We didn't end up staying out there for too long. We probably only stayed out there for about an hour and a half. It was really windy and pretty cold, and we were just using garbage props. So eventually we ran out of urine bottles and tire scraps to take photos of. On our way back to Salt Lake, we decided that such a physically and mentally exhausting day of sitting in the car for multiple hours and standing for about half an hour deserved a recovery meal. So we called up one of our favorite local pizza joints in Salt Lake and ordered for dead drop, which is really what happens now in quarantine. They just take it and put it on a park bench and you go and pick it up. It was a short trip, but it was a fun trip. It was an awesome way to get out of the house. I definitely recommend that if you just feel cooped up and you have the ability to, just go somewhere outside. Go somewhere where you don't think there will be too many people. I don't recommend a big landmark like the Salt Flats necessarily, because that does attract a lot of people, but something a little bit more under the radar would be awesome. A hike that you know of that not too many other people know of, something like that. Just get yourself outside, take a camera with you if you can. It's really a relaxing and fantastic way to spend an afternoon, and I think you'll feel a lot better afterwards. I know that I did. All right, well, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry that this video is a day late, and even on top of that, it is 2 now. This is my normal upload time, so it's going to be a day late and a few hours as well. But I had an awesome trip down in southern Utah. There will be a few more videos coming from that trip soon. And as always, if you liked the video, don't forget to like it, subscribe for more videos like this every other day. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you out there, guys. Have a great day.